Hi, hi, Martin here. So this is the first of what is hopefully going to be several videos describing a trip to Angola overland by bus, a 10-day trip which starts a month from now. That I'm standing outside my house in Pretoria, so the trip it's 3,500 kilometers from Pretoria, which you can kind of see there, and and Luanda, the capital of Angola. So with these videos, yeah, I just wanted to share some um, yeah, tips and experiences. It's not something that a lot of people do, travel between South Africa and Angola, and especially by bus. So it's a bit of an adventure. And yeah, so let me explain. So there are three reasons why myself and my partner Imgard are doing this trip now. Um, the first is that I love looking at issues relating to one's carbon footprint and climate change. I became interested in this in the late 1980s, which is when the evidence first appeared, and I kind of track my carbon footprint, and I'm just very interested in this very, very complex technical issue of understanding the relationship between the life one lives and one's effect on the climate through one's footprint. So there's a kind of geeky interest in this, but of course it's also a terrifying and frustrating issue that we are not doing more to, as a society and as individuals, to reduce our carbon footprints. In particular, people like myself who are quite advantaged and have the opportunity to reduce our footprint and have historically quite high footprints. Instead of doing this, we are hurtling towards policy populism, wars, the genocide in Gaza, war in Ukraine, Russia, Sudan. So I suppose in a way the trip is about just getting away from some of those things, or just thinking a bit differently about them, getting out of that kind of routine. These things have become routine now, that we follow these awful events around the world, and I kind of, yes, we need to follow them, obviously, but we also need to think about other issues such as the sustainability of human life, and that comes down to things like how we use natural resources now. So I'm not an environmental expert in terms of the work I do. This is a side thing. I'm an education economist, and yeah, so this is a side thing. I do have a blog, and I've used the. If you go to the blog, you'll see there's a few things, including some advice to history teachers on how to bring climate change into the history curriculum, because it lends itself very well to history, especially the study of industrialization. How did the rise of industrialization lead to the climate crisis that we're increasingly face? And then there's going to be another video with kind of a dedicated lecture on the footprint of going to Angola versus flying, and how one works that out. And whether, obviously in the larger picture, it can't make that much of a difference, but it makes somewhat of a difference. And part of the kind of my interest is just understanding this and sharing that knowledge. It's not that easy to put together this information. So that's the one reason. Yeah, I want to do a trip that has a relatively low carbon footprint. The other reason is that I love travel. I've been fortunate to do lots of interesting travel, including a lot overland. Gabriela, if you're listening to this, we did a 12,000 bus ride through South America, mainly Brazil. That's when I lived in Buenos Aires. I cycled from Thohoyandou in northern South Africa, northern Limpopo, to Harare once. That was quite fun. So yeah, travel by public transport has a special charm. You sit for a long time with people. You get to talk to people. You get a bit closer to people than if you were queuing at airports and sitting on 3-hour flights and so on. So yeah, and of course you meet more average people, on average citizens on a on a bus, say, compared to a plane. And then the third reason I'm going, completely frivolous, is there's this thing called the Angola Kizomba Festival. Since just over 10 years ago, I've been doing SBK, and I hope to have some fun at this festival in Luanda, Angola being kind of the birthplace of semba dance and kizomba dance. So in terms of the preparations for the trip, I must say that what makes things a little easier for me, and I will definitely feel this when I'm in Angola, is kind of knowing Portuguese. I'm not fluent, but I do speak Spanish, so that helps. Then one thing I've had to look at is prices, because Angola is not a popular tourist destination for South Africans, largely because Angola has this reputation for being horribly expensive. And but the research I've done kind of points to the situation being a little bit more mixed. It depends on what you do. So bus travel, for example, in Angola is cheaper than in South Africa. Incidentally, there you can see my carbon footprint T-shirt, which I designed many years ago. So if you travel by bus, it's quite cheap. Mid-range hotels in Angola actually cost less than equivalent hotels here, even if, it's like expensive hotels in Luanda are clearly far more expensive than expensive hotels in South Africa. So a lot depends on how you plan your trip. What's also interesting in planning this is realizing how e-business is often not very developed in our neighboring countries. For example, there's a big bus company in Botswana called Munagotla. According to their website, they say they have a direct link between Gaborone and Windhoek, and we want to go through Botswana to shorten the trip and not do the Uppington roundabout way. So I want to go through Botswana. It would have been great if there had been a bus from Gaborone to Windhoek, but it turns out, I phoned them and they said, no, we haven't updated our website. We stopped that leg back during the pandemic. Lots of things got messed up in the pandemic. So it's going to be a bit more adventurous to move from Gaborone to Windhoek. There's a huge Angolan bus company called Macon, which goes all over Angola. They have a good website that you can plan your itinerary, you get the cost, but then if you're not in Angola, you can't pay. I've tried, it just doesn't work. You have to go through something called multi-caixa. They don't accept any other payment option, and I can't pay multi-caixa from South Africa. So what we're going to have to do is what I've done before. You arrive somewhere and you buy your bus ticket for the next destination. So yeah, this should be adventurous and fun, and I will be posting more videos. The next video is going to be that footprint lecture, though.